Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. We're here for the news this morning. We've got a couple of bits of news today. The first one is Harry Kane, and this has been reported in a couple of outlets, but the one we're reporting on is from the Daily Mirror, and they are talking about, first of all, United's interest in Kane and the fact that there are seemingly quite a few teams interested in Harry Kane. Man United face competition from Man City and Juventus for Harry Kane transfer. The England captain Harry Kane, who is currently recovering from a hamstring strain, is under contract with Tottenham until 2024 on a £200,000 a week deal. So basically, Juventus want Harry Kane, United want Harry Kane, Man City want Harry Kane. There is a small chance that, the Mirror are putting as many team names in an article as possible, so fans from all of those teams will read it. So we have to take this one with a pinch of salt. But I think if a player like Harry Kane, who's only 26, it seems like he's been around for a long time, but he's only a year older than Bruno Fernandes, is available, I think it's going to be one of those where there will be a lot of teams in for him. 200 grand a week as well for, one of the best strikers in the world, who is, he's not 19, he's not on his second contract or anything like that. This is a man who's been one of the best strikers in the world for 3 or 4 years now. And 200 grand a week for that sort of player is a lot cheaper than you would expect, which I think is why there would be so many teams in for him. Obviously, Kane, who's, I think, won the Premier League Golden Boot twice, one of England's top scorers, and looking like the track that he's on at the minute is England captain as well, of course. Probably will go on to be England's all-time top goal scorer. But he's always had problems with injuries, hasn't he? What is it, another 3 months out he's had this season with a hamstring injury? Which, when you're having 3 months out with a hamstring injury, that is like serious. That's not just a tweak or a strain. That's, he's having to have operations on hamstring injuries. We saw in the early part of his career, Ryan Giggs used to seemingly get, was it hamstrings, wasn't it, with Giggs? He used to seem like he'd get one every year. He'd have like a month out every year, and then toward the end of his career, he started introducing yoga. His workload was relieved slightly, and he seemed to get rid of it. So hopefully, it's one of those things where maybe a bit of yoga, a bit of personalized training and that kind of thing, you can overcome it. But it does seem as though Kane does have a weakness with those hamstrings at the moment, and like I said, when you are having surgery and 3 months out with a hamstring injury, that's about as serious as a hamstring injury can get. So there may be concerns over his injury record. He's always missed a lot of games, and he plays he plays for England every game. He's the captain for England, so it was one of those where he don't get many rests over the summers, and then he comes out the next season and has as well historically started poorly in the Premier League in terms of goal scoring. But he's obviously a proven striker. Let us know in the comments what you think of Harry Kane. Like I said, take this rumour with a little pinch of salt, just because it seems as though the Mirror may well be putting 3 or 4 different clubs' names in this article to get people from those fan bases to read it. But I have no doubt that United are interested in a striker. We've seen that with the signings of Odion Ighalo and the attempted signing of Erling Haaland. United are definitely looking for a striker, and I think when someone like Harry Kane becomes available, or becomes, there are rumours that he's available, I think he would probably be the type of striker United like. He's got excellent hold-up play. Obviously, he's a world-class finisher, one of the best in the world. And I think what year was it? 2018, where he scored more goals than anyone else in the calendar year. So, he's really a top-end goal scorer. We should focus on a right wing and a CDM before prioritising a striker. If we sign Ighalo, Partey is a must for me. I want Partey just because I want someone in the squad who's called Partey, because we're just going to say party time all the time, and I want to say party time all the time. But yeah, Thomas Partey looked excellent against Liverpool, didn't he? Oliver's saying, if we can make 5 signings, I'd get Sancho, Grealish, Ighalo, Bellingham, and Ndidi. Not really prioritising. Well, I suppose you have got Ighalo in there, but not a big name, a big money transfer for a striker there. I don't think we'll be able to afford Kane and Sancho. Yeah, that would be my worry, because you're looking at close to 300 million for those two. You would think somewhere in the region of 110 for Sancho, and the reports on here are 150 million for Harry Kane, which is, I think, too much for him. I think that that's Neymar money, isn't he? And he's not the world star that Neymar is. He doesn't quite have the X factor or the marketability that Neymar does. I know and he hasn't quite driven his team to success like Neymar did at Barcelona. I know he had Messi with him and that kind of thing, but Harry Kane's never really won much. And or has he? I mean, has he even won anything? Has Harry Kane ever won a trophy? I know Tottenham haven't won anything in 10 years. Did he win a Johnson's Paint Trophy with MK Dons? Perhaps, I'm not sure. He won a Golden Boot at the World Cup, so there's his trophy cabinet. Yeah, some sources say United will sign Ighalo to cover next season and sign Haaland the summer after that. Apparently his release clause gets activated then. But yeah, that's the thing though. So again, we're kind of seeing it with Kane here, where one part of his transfer is very accessible, and that's his wages, 200 grand a week. Obviously, it's a ton of money, but that's what Ander Herrera's on at PSG. So if you're signing a big name striker, it's easy to upgrade his wages. The inaccessible part is the transfer fee, which is, like I said, rumoured to be around 150 million. So that limits the number of teams that can buy him. The same thing will happen with Haaland, where his accessible part is his transfer fee, because if he's got this release clause that's, what was it, rumoured to be about 60, 70 million at Dortmund when it becomes active, but then that allows teams that win more trophies and are more successful than United to come in for him, the likes of Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, teams that, you know, we're not necessarily guaranteed to be able to get Haaland out of Dortmund. So that would be my worry there. Sticking all the eggs in the Haaland basket may not pay off, just in the sense that, you know, why would he join us if he's got some of the, you know, teams winning more trophies than us? Obviously, we don't know where we'll be in a year's time. We don't know how this season will end, or if it will end, we may well be in the Champions League next season. We may well have won a trophy at the end of the season, or even at the end of next season. You know, the club might look a lot more appetising a prospect than it did, let's say, at the start of the season. But it always worries me, that kind of thing of, you know, we'll wait another year for him. We'll wait another year when his transfer fee is low, because the lower his transfer fee is, the more teams that can afford him. One of the things about United that sets us apart is that we can afford big transfer fees. So we'll have to wait and see on the Haaland thing. No Kane, please. Too expensive and injury prone. Yeah, people saying that Kane is injury prone. That could be a problem, and it's probably we'll have to wait and see. But that could get worse as he gets older as well, as we've seen. But again, that's why I brought Giggs up as the opposite example of that, or the example of the opposite of that, where he got less injuries as he got older, or seemingly recovered from that recurring hamstring injury that he used to get as he got older. So it's not to say for certain it'll be a Michael Owen situation. It could hopefully be a Ryan Giggs situation. Yeah, no need for Kane. Give Ighalo the contract and then concentrate on the right wing. Yeah, I think it's probably more likely to be a keeping all options open type signing, rather than, I think I wouldn't say that Harry Kane would be our first choice, but obviously, you know, I haven't spoken to the club about that, but I think the Sancho deal and the Sancho approach seems to be more fully fledged and more serious, and the first choice option for United as an attacker over Harry Kane. But looking at other options then, and this one is coming out of Sport Bild in Germany, who are, you know, somewhat reliable. They're not quite as reliable as some of the bigger outlets there, but this is saying that Jude Bellingham has decided to join Dortmund. Obviously, it's not official confirmation, but obviously the 16-year-old midfielder from Birmingham has been around Carrington. He's been over to Bayern Munich as well. He went to Dortmund to see their facilities, their training ground, that kind of thing, visit the team. There's a lot of teams courting Jude Bellingham, one of the sort of, well, I would say maybe the highest, kind of most highly regarded 16-year-old in the world. And if you believe this story, this is that he has decided to join Dortmund. So Bellingham was impressed with Birmingham City in the Championship this season, which saw his market value rise to 12 million. But yeah, it says here the 16-year-old has made his decision and only wants to join Borussia Dortmund this summer. Again, we'll have to wait and see and get official confirmation on this. It is currently only Sport Bild saying this. And I think it's one of those where you can kind of see from his perspective why he would do that. Dortmund have had an incredible record in recent years of bringing you through and buying, not bringing you through their academy necessarily, but buying 16, 17, 18-year-old players. We saw it with Dembele, Ousmane Dembele. We saw it with Jadon Sancho. We've seen it now maybe with Jude Bellingham. they've got an excellent track record of bringing these younger players through. And we've seen it with Erling Haaland as well, another one where they don't necessarily bring them through their academy, but they buy them from other teams' academies and pick up kind of what Juventus do with 25-year-olds, Dortmund do with 17-year-olds. You get them on a free transfer or on a rundown contract or a cheap transfer like they saw with Haaland, and promote them and sell them on for 100 million is usually their way of doing things. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Dortmund. Do you think Jude Bellingham's going to be a big miss for United if he does end up at Dortmund? Let us know. Bellingham's going to Dortmund, methinks. That's, maybe. I think Dembele is a more reasonable deal. It also seems a more likely option. I assume you mean Moussa Dembele instead of Harry Kane, rather than Ousmane Dembele instead of Jadon Sancho, because talk about injury prone, I think Ousmane Dembele may be, is he 22 and he's missed like 3 seasons already due to injuries. Bellingham to Dortmund would be disappointing, and Kane is not needed at United. Yeah, I think it would be disappointing. United obviously pulled out all the stops with the tour around Old Trafford. We saw Sir Alex Ferguson was there. Ed Woodward, who love him or hate him, is clearly a senior figure at United and someone that shows the likes of Jude Bellingham that we're taking this transfer seriously. And if you're getting Ferguson to come in and show him around the transfer, around the training facilities and the facilities at Old Trafford and at Carrington, then we're clearly taking this one seriously. But that's the thing. You don't just get 100% of the players that you're after just because you tried hard to get them. There are teams that do things different ways, and I think the thing Dortmund can offer him is come to us for 2 years or 3 years. I mean, he's only 16. He could be there for 5 years and he'd still only be 21. But come to Dortmund for a few years and we'll make you and your agent 100 million quid. Well, you got 10% of that or whatever it is. We'll get you a big transfer. You can maybe win a couple of trophies, win a German Cup, get to the semi-final of a Champions League here or there, and raise your profile in the meantime. So Dortmund do have a kind of it's almost a unique sort of option. They're this kind of perfect team to play for. You play fun, exciting football with loads of young lads. You maybe know Jadon Sancho, or is it another young English lad for you to come through and to feel comfortable around. And play exciting football, maybe win a couple of trophies, and then get a massive move to whichever club you supported as a kid when you're about 20. So you can see why the likes of Dortmund are an appealing option. It would have been good to see him at United though, but again, that story is only coming out of build at the moment, so it's not exactly a done deal, that one. Has he not got a pro contract yet? No, I don't think he can sign until he's 17, and he's not 17 until June. So he hasn't signed a pro contract, but I think there would have to be some. I don't know if it's just compensation or if it's an official transfer fee that you would have to pay to Dortmund. But there was talks of like up to 50 million. I don't quite understand how that works, because if he hasn't signed a contract, what are you buying? And if it is compensation, how can compensation be that much money? I think we'll see more about that when this transfer actually gets done to whoever he does end up going to. We'll see about the fee and stuff like that, and we'll probably get to the bottom of that, because I don't quite understand that one at the moment. Akshar saying Dortmund have this weird pull for youngsters. Well, like I described before, I don't think it's that weird. It's kind of understandable. But hopefully United can get him ahead of Dortmund. Matthias saying, love that Igalo was absolutely set on United regardless of a pay cut. Yeah, that's good. And you can see that in the way he plays as well. He clearly loves being at the club. Right, that's going to be all from me at the moment. We're going to be back with a podcast a little bit later. So, join us for that. It should be around 3 or 4 o'clock for the podcast, would you say? Yeah, 3 or 4 o'clock. We'll be back with a live podcast. So me, Stephen Howson, and Alex will be on that one. So join us for that. Dortmund have this. Yeah, exactly. Right. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a bit.